Welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and an addict living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Rico 12 is an open to all addictions and afflictions, all manifestations of the disease of alcoholism, and we're dedicated to exploring the common threads of these manifestations, sharing tools and offering hope from those walking a similar path. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and locations to learn and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences demonstrating the universal principles of recovery. Rico 12 is not allied or affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. This is Rico 12 speaker meeting number 380. What a crazy thing that we're going along this long and doing some good things. Thank you for joining us live or on the recording later. Today's speaker is Donna J., a first-time Rico 12 speaker. Although a seasoned speaker for many years, her talk today is entitled Carrying the Message, and I look forward to hearing more about this message here in a few minutes, but just a few quick announcements first. Rico 12 offers a variety of recovery resources, including podcasts and social media communities. To explore more, visit Rico12.com. That's RECO like recovery, 12 like 12step.com, or check the chat and show notes for links. We've recently launched another podcast called Rico 12 Workshops. This is a platform where former and current Rico 12 speakers who have recorded workshops or other talks in other meetings can share those recordings with us and have them put up as a podcast. And I'll put the link to that new podcast in the chat and show notes also. Or you can just go to, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts and look up Rico 12 Workshops. You can find it and follow it there. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us continue this message. Thank you to all our Spearhead donors, past and present. And this week, a special thanks go out to our Patreons, whose donations are very helpful, and to David, who became a monthly Spearhead contributor this last week. If you feel your higher power nudging you to make a contribution to Rico 12, the information on how to do that will be in the chat and the show notes of the podcast, or you can go to rico12.com/support. Your support, both financially and by word of mouth, truly makes a difference in helping us share these messages of hope and recovery. Each week we receive light and inspiration from our speakers. Their experience brings hope, meaning, worth, and growth to each of us as listeners. Now I'm going to welcome today's speaker, Donna J., and here's a little bit about her. Donna has been sober since August 5th of 2000. Her recovery began in New York City, where alcoholism led her into darkness until a power greater than herself set her free. Guided by strong sponsorship and the teachings of the Big Book, she leads online Big Book workshops, sponsors others, and remains active in AA and also now in CA. She strives to live each day in steps 10, 11, and 12, and is honored whenever asked to speak at meetings, conferences, or workshops across the United States and abroad, carrying the message of freedom and hope wherever God leads. Take it away, Donna. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. My name is Donna, and I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And listening to that, I can't believe that is me today. As Justin mentioned, August 5th, 2000 is just as important as my belly button birthday. That was the day of me being willing to enter into this new life. I didn't know it at the time. August 5th represented that I was too exhausted to think about another next time. I was too exhausted of trying to live. And it's interesting because I had tried to commit suicide 10 years prior to August 5th, 2000, but there were still some things that this self that I created wanted me to try. I hadn't done a geographic yet. There were a lot of methods that I didn't try. And it's amazing that I get to see today that the power, the control, and the choice to drink or do drugs was removed so that I can live this life. I didn't know it at the time. It was a path that I had to go down. No one but an addict and an alcoholic can understand the powerlessness in stopping the darkness. And for me, it had to get so dark so that I can see the light brightly. I know that what happened to me on August 5th, 2000 was not of my manufacturing, because if it was up to me, I would have stopped drinking on August 4th. It wasn't the first time I had 50 cents in my pocket. It wasn't the first time that I had a whole bunch of fear about what my mom was going to say at the age of 44 years old. And I didn't have the key and I had to ring that doorbell. I had done that many times in shame. And it wasn't the first time that I never cared about what she was worrying about, where I was for 4 and 5 days at a time. That's the selfishness and the self-centeredness of my life. But this particular day, that walk home was a different one. I felt like I was walking down the block with my head bowed and my hands up. I was too exhausted to think. See, I didn't know that my entire drinking career was a series of last times being another next time. That's why this big book is so powerful, because I got an opportunity to see what my thinking mind would not let me see. And so people are watching me and they're shaking their heads, and I'm shaking my head because I don't understand why I'm living my life the way I'm living. But myself and them included didn't realize that that was a path that was required. Because I believe in this lifetime, I have an opportunity to go home while I'm alive. It says that some of us enter into the gates of insanity and death and then go straight home. See, I even look at death a little differently today. But why were we not? Why were we pulled? So we get to stand in front of another gate. And that gate opens up into a whole new world. When you read the big book, it's so much new. And it's scary and it's frightening, because we have to admit to our innermost self that we have no power and no control. And it's very frightening for a human being to admit that. I remember my first honest prayer. I had gone to Catholic school 13 years, including kindergarten, and my first honest prayer in my entire life was when I was in my fear inventory. Now, I was willing to say the third step prayer. I always had willingness. And for me, willingness begins with curiosity. Are you willing to go to any length to get it? I didn't know what the it was, but I was curious because I knew these people had something I always wanted. See, towards the ends of my drinking and drugging, people didn't really want to hang out with me because I was contemplating and questioning my life. And I distinctly remember saying the only thing I have not tried was God, and I didn't know how to get to God, so I continued to just drink and drug. I had to continue down this road of despair so that that would be led into a surrendered state. I was surrendered on August 5th, 2000. I did not stop drinking, and it becomes apparent when I read the big book, and nowhere in that book does it say they stopped drinking. It says the problem was removed. They were relieved of it. It disappeared. And all of a sudden, what happened to me on August 1st, I saw the miracle was taking place. See, my thinking mind downplayed August 1st. It never occurred to me, oh my God, you're not obsessing over alcohol anymore. Isn't that something to rejoice to? I couldn't even see how powerful of a realization that was. So I thank God that on August 5th, 2000, I began to hear. See, I used to listen a lot. See, I couldn't really hear because my mind was too busy arguing with what you were saying. I couldn't hear you. But I believe that my spirit was open and I was placed in front of people. I felt like I was placed in front of a fellowship within the fellowship. There were people that were not afraid to mention the word God. I heard this woman share, and it's like I had been hearing a whole bunch of shares, and I was hee-heeing and kiki-keying because, the things that we escaped from do sound quite funny now that we're not in it. But I was starting to get a little shaky because I didn't know how hearing your story that matches my problem is going to be a solution for me. It connects me to you, but I didn't know how we were going to get past that. And then I heard a woman share, and what she was like, I still was like. And that curiosity led to a willingness because she asked me a question, were you willing to go to any length never to drink again? I had been hearing just don't drink for today. And I did not want to think about a drink just for any day. And so I said yes. And I found myself in my first year in Alcoholics Anonymous after I was in a therapeutic community across the table from a couple that were taking addicts and alcoholics through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, line by line, for a spiritual experience. And I felt for the first time I was giving myself permission to discover what's wrong with me because I never knew what was wrong with me. I did know that I spent a lot of energy not wanting to be different from the rest of the human race. And more about alcoholism, it's amazing how much time we spend not wanting to be problematic. See, I didn't want to be the odd man out. I needed you to like me. I needed you to love me. I needed you to accept me. And I could not admit that I was an alcoholic because that meant that I wouldn't have those things from you. So I was going to go out of my way to prove to you, go to work with no sleep if I needed to, just so I can show up to prove to you that I was okay. And I'm dying inside. It's the hardest days of my life. And I said days because I did it more than once. So now we've got years, we've got decades. See, it's interesting because I look at the deeper my relationship is with God, I'm looking at no power, no control, no choice from a different perspective. I believe those things needed to happen because, see, if I had a choice, I would have stopped drinking. I would have said, screw this. But I look back, and was it all orchestrated by God? You know why I say that today? And I got to be real careful because this realization, this awareness is not something that I'm hearing anybody else saying, but it's something that I'm feeling from within. And I'm feeling like if right here, right now, none of that comes to mind. All of that pain, that suffering, that shame, that guilt, you know, in the promises, it says things are going to slip away, easily pushed aside. See, because I spend most of my time being right here, right now, because of the future. See, I'm entering into another decade in senior citizen, and this is the time where my runway in life is getting shorter. So if I'm not staying connected to God, there's going to be a lot of fear around that. And so I'm staying right here in the moment, right here in the moment. And what I'm not recognizing that the more I stay in the moment, it's doing something about the past. It's putting a lot of distance between me and the past that I can actually sit here and I have fond memories. I'm like, well, I really enjoyed elementary school. Where did all of that pain, that guilt, that shame, the day that I wanted to drink, that I did drink that bottle of mouth cough medicine because I didn't want to wake up? I don't have thoughts of that today. Someone says, well, if God is loving, why would he have me go through this? But guess what? I went through it, but guess what? It's not a problem today. It doesn't have any impact on me today. But when I'm not relying on God and don't realize that I'm not this separate being, if I let go of the illusion of this separateness and I'm one with God, 1 + 1 is still 1. If I'm one with God, those circumstances don't become real. I'm not dragging them with me. I dragged shit with me. Excuse me, I didn't mean to post. A lot of that I started to see in my fourth step. All of a sudden, I started to see things from an entirely different perspective. I realized that there's no difference between me and you. It's not that people wouldn't help me. It's not that people wouldn't love me. I get to see that they couldn't. What a humbling admission. And I get to see that, wait a minute, I'm not really separated from another human being because I get a wonderful opportunity for the first time in my existence to sit one-on-one with another human being and let them see my hiney and not be afraid about what they're going to think. That fifth step is so powerful. And God is in there protecting both of us. It's allowing the person who's listening to the fifth step to hear what he needs them to hear, so that maybe perhaps they need to say something so the person can get a deeper level of truth for the first time. And I've been in fifth steps on Zoom and watched a person have a transformation in the thought of another human being. And my responsibility is just to sit back and give them space. I remember my first fifth step, Rashid said, Don, is that all? And I was holding on to something because I was so afraid. See, I needed you to think I was okay, to like me, but I knew in this moment that freedom was on the other side if I shared it. And it felt like I wrestled against this mind of mine that didn't want me to openly let go of something that had me in bondage. And when I shared it, the freedom that washed over me was unbelievable. I'm sure you experience the same thing, that when we have these kinds of experiences, it's very hard to explain them. See, I don't believe the thinking mind can explain what it did not manufacture. I'm willing to believe when I put pen to paper and I ask God, God, please reveal to me what's blocking me from you. I got to trust and believe that what's coming down on the paper is not from my thinking. And I was willing to believe that when I saw in step one, I can't rely on my thinking because it's unreliable. It doesn't let me see the truth. I realized that my thinking mind couldn't protect me. Without sufficient force, it couldn't remind me of the last experience I had. And I blindly walk in and it says, we believe in the same threadbare idea. Donna, it's played out. Why do you still think? Why do you still think it's going to be different this time? And I had to have a number of decades believing the same threadbare idea that I'm going to prove to you I'm okay. And I'm only going to have one. To me, it never gets more greater than one. I had to have deep first step experiences, not only with alcohol and drugs, but with nicotine. And I also had it with relationships. And each time I went through the big book. I went through the big book for nicotine, and I worked with an Al-Anon sponsor who took me through the big book and looked at my obsessing manipulation and my controlling behavior. And each time the problem was removed. I did not stop drinking. The obsession to obsess over another human being was lifted. And I was able to see on a very deep level, this person did not have the capacity to be who I wanted him to be. And see, I stayed in relationships longer than I should have because I needed someone to blame for why I was unhappy. And the thought of not having anybody to blame frightened me, because then what was I going to do? Man. But we got to be willing to go to any length to be able to see the truth. And then the 25 years I've been here, my spiritual life hasn't been a straight line, especially when I was in the relationship. I never had time for God because I was too busy making this person my God. But I will tell you today, I don't have any set prayer. I don't have any set time. I don't have any set place to sit because I don't want to control even the spiritual journey. So whatever I'm moved, I go into prayer meditation and I have a bunch of readings and whatever moves me at the time. And throughout the day, I feel the presence of God. I'm living in a state. New York City's my home. I'm living in a place where I'm very much by myself. And this is an interesting time of my life because I'm not in a relationship, but guess what? I feel so at peace. And I listen to people that are always on the go, always on the go, always on the go. And they say, you know what? I feel like I'm avoiding something, and I have to thank them because what they're avoiding, I'm living. See, that's why we need each other in each other's lives, because when I hear about you, I can see me. And see, when I'm relying on spirit, I'm not focusing on your behavior and your personality. I see beyond that. And I think that's what happens when we go through this work. We can look at the world with empathy. See, I know what it's like to be confused. I know what it's like to not know and think that there's something too uncomfortable with that. See, I've got to be willing to sit in a whole lot of uncomfortability in this new life. You know, Bill says that the power is going to handle all problems and manage our affairs, but it's imperative that we practice spiritual principles. And so if God is handling problems, I don't have any. And if I can learn to start looking at things as circumstances that are happening outside of me, maybe I can just observe. See, if I look at things as problems, the next thing I think I need to do is fix. But if things are circumstances, these are events outside of me that I don't really know what to do. I don't really know when it's going to happen. Maybe it's just for me to watch and lean in and trust. And I've had an experience very recently sitting in some uncomfortability as a senior citizen. And there's three things as a senior citizen. It's always, am I going to have enough money until I die? My looks are going to go and my body's going to start failing me. Those three things I have to sit real deep in with my creator. And then yesterday, all of a sudden, I'm a personal assistant. And all of a sudden, I had like all these people reach out to me, want to know if I have time to do some work for them. So I just sit and I wait. See, I've got to learn how to sit in uncomfortability as I practice these new principles of trust. Trust is a principle that's new for me. I didn't trust. As much as I wanted to connect to people, it was hard to connect to people if you don't trust. I didn't know how it was. I didn't know how to have faith because I always thought I had to make things happen. So really, all we get to do is we get to sit in some new uncomfortability. Sitting in fear, sitting in doubt, sitting in worry is very uncomfortable. But I think that we do it because it's familiar. It's my default. Just as uncomfortable. So then why not learn to sit in some new uncomfortability, Donna? And see, sitting in the new uncomfortability, there's a transformation that can happen on the other side. We start feeling. It says that we see, feel. I can feel today. It happened to me. I didn't know the entire truth about something, and I shared something with a fellow, and I was so opinionated. And then when I discovered that I didn't have all the information, I felt what humility felt like. It just washed over me like my head bowed, like, damn, I was wrong. So we become awakened to our shortcomings. And then I was able to call someone and say, you know what, I apologize. I didn't have the full scope of the situation before I went off. And so sometimes I can do a lot of pausing, but sometimes I don't pause. And maybe it's in the not pausing. I need to be taught what I need to be taught. Because I was able to see today, this is what I get when I don't know the full picture, but I think I know so much. It's very humbling. Thank you, God. See, before the awakening, if you had brought something to my attention, I was going to say to you, oh, I was only joking. Or I would say, well, why are you so sensitive? Like, lighten up. See, I couldn't own my own behavior. I couldn't see. We have a wonderful opportunity to do what most people don't get an opportunity to do, and that's to become awakened. Not only to ourselves, but the world around us. So that we can be okay when we're not okay. That's such a new concept since I've been in recovery. And not needing to know. You know what it reminds me of when you're a passenger in a car and you've never been where you're going? It's very hard to relax. The mind, we're not there yet. How come it's taking so long? How come there's so many lights? You sure you're going the right way? And you notice on the way back, the same route, we have the nerve to say, wow, we got home so quick. because the mind knows. So I sit in a lot of not knowing and a lot of trusting. And the thing is that when we sit and not knowing, we're not spending time trying to figure out so that we can be in position to be of help. If I worry about life, I'm not going to think I have anything to offer when I need to be on the firing line of life to be a messenger, because I think that's what we become. We're living our lives like we're dying. We don't feel useful. We don't understand life. What is going on? I can't find my space. All of these uncertain questions about who we're being. And then all of a sudden we find out exactly the role God assigns. And so it's very apparent in my 10th step throughout the day, I'm being tested of this relationship that I have with God and the responsibility that I have been given by God. I'm tested by some old beliefs, things outside of me that make me want to feel envious of other people, jealous of other people. And really all that that's doing, it's trying to pull me away from the responsibility of being in the spiritual realm and realize, wait a minute, Donna, you have all that you have. I've never had an employer throughout my work history that I didn't think was going to provide for me, that wasn't going to pay me. Can I do the same thing with God? Can I trust and believe that I have a new employer, a new manager, a new director, a new principal that's going to provide for me? And I say yes. It takes a lot of letting go of this false identity to be able to say yes with confidence. Because that's a mouthful. Do I trust an entity that I don't have any experience with, even though it's giving me breath, it's waking me up, that this power is my employer, my director, my father, my principal? Do I trust that power enough to be comfortable when I don't know? And to say yes out loud is an admission of humility on a very deep level. And really what happens, we stay in this fellowship, this we. You know, when you read the big book and the chapters that start with the word we, the W is so huge on the page. Oh my God, it represents what we are. I don't think we're like normal people in the regard of how we stick together, how we recognize that our life is contingent upon the connection of the lives around us. I had many great teachers. Gwen was one of them, and Gwen was 91 when she passed away. And when Gwen was 90, she still had newcomers she was working with. Man, she said, you know, and I don't know what God's purpose for me is in the next life, but she said, I hope that I come back in the next life with pain and misery once again, so I can continue to be of use to God. So that's why I look back and I say, you know what, everything that I went through, perhaps it was all designed for me to be here. Because in this lifetime, I get to go home. And I get to, it's like I feel like sometimes we're like watching a marathon, and those of us that are on this path, we're on the sidelines, and we're just saying to people, come on, keep going, don't loiter. Never have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our steps, but we loiter a lot. And we're purveyors of hope. You know, people say, oh, don't get so hopeful. Wait till the check's in the mail. I don't believe that. I think hope does something to the body. It gives us energy for another day. And the things that I'm hopeful for, most times the end result doesn't even happen. but I think it's the hope about something happening that's really going to be a beautiful thing. Maybe that's what I needed in the day. And maybe because of that hope, you call me and you can hear the hope in me. Maybe that's what the hope is for, so you can hear it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna. I really appreciate it. I love the talk. I took lots of notes. I have questions written down and I'm excited to get to these questions. A reminder to our live audience here. If you have a question for Donna, please send it to me through the chat. If you want to remain anonymous, in other words, if you don't want me to read your first name, send it to me direct message or say anonymous, please. But we're going to get right into this. Donna, you talked right at the very beginning. You said, I look at death differently today than I did earlier in my life while in active alcoholism and addiction. Tell me a little bit about how that has shifted in your life. What does death look like to you today?
I think for me, death is just a calling home. I don't. And again, I mean, this is my experiences and my journey. I'm not here to convert or have anybody think differently, but I just think we get called home. That's how I look at death.
All right, and it's not like an end or whatever. It's a continuation into the next into
I believe.
home, huh?
Yeah. I believe the spirit stays alive. And I don't know, maybe a lifetime ago I was not willing. And maybe this lifetime the pain got great enough that I was willing to have a different perspective and not fight the concept of spirit, not fight the concept of oneness, not fight the concept of no separation, and be willing to believe that I'm one with all. I was meditating today and my cat was sitting on my lap, and I just was very conscious of the energy between my cat and I being one.
Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform. Yeah. Oh, that's very, very cool. Thank you for sharing that, Donna. Let's talk a little bit about that being one. You mentioned that you're in New York City. You talked about being very much in a place where you're kind of alone. Talk to us a little bit about the difference between being alone and being lonely, and how do you find peace in that solitude?
I think the peace comes to us. I don't think it's anything that I manufactured, and I didn't even realize the significance of being here in this chapter of my life until I heard people avoiding being still, avoiding being alone, until I realized, wait a minute, I've been doing it, and it's not anything that is uncomfortable. I mean, I wake up and I feel very peaceful. I don't feel like I'm missing out. I like my own company. And when I do things, but I don't need to be doing to be okay. I'm experiencing a lot of being.
Where does that, I mean, you mentioned you wake up and you don't feel alone. You like your own self. You like your own company. When did that transition happen in your life, and how do you define that transition?
Well, now that I'm here in Florida, it's very apparent because it's not as fast paced as Florida. But The first time I felt that at peace was after my first fifth step sitting for an hour. I remember when Rashid let me out of the car, he says, now go join the human race. And that was one of the most profound things that someone said to me. And I remember sitting quietly for that hour, and I felt at perfect peace. And I was able to do the things that they asked me to do, was to reflect. And I felt very comfortable with myself and this concept of God that I had at the time. I had another fifth step with another sponsor, Adrian. And I remember after I had finished sharing all, he was making something to eat, and I could see him. But a peace, oh my God, a peace and a stillness washed over me. I had never felt as much love as I had in that moment. And I wanted to share with him what was going on because I could see him, but I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to interrupt it. And I felt like and then I would relax back in. And I didn't want to leave. And that was my first experience of being washed over with a love that was beyond measure. So I think it's these individual experiences that I have that keep me curious, that keep me willing to stay on this path. And even though I have these amazing experiences that are beyond measure, there's still this agnosticism as a human being. I do a powerlessness exercise. What are the things I'm powerless to start doing, and what am I powerless to stop doing? And when I answer those questions, I realize, oh my goodness, there's so many areas of my life that I'm still managing. And so I get to see that there's a difference between believing in God and total relying upon God. So for me, staying in the work, doing these spiritual exercises so I can see the truth gives me more of the willingness to stay committed to this journey. And it may be I'm in a speaker meeting and I hear a speaker, and whatever the speaker is saying resonates to what has been opened up in my heart. So I don't know if I answered your question, Justin, but
Yeah, I love the flow of this, and I love how you're bringing everything around. You talked a little bit about, the couple of fifth step experiences you had there earlier in your talk. You said, "Hey, I went through the big book for several things, including relationships and nicotine and alcohol and whatever else." Each time you did that, did you take a fifth step being a comprehensive fifth step, or was it like a fifth step just in regards to this? How did that look?
Okay, so how do I get my list to begin with? I don't think about what it is. I was told early on by my first teacher is to get quiet and say a prayer. God, please reveal to me who I'm angry at, annoyed, pissed off, the people, the institutions, and principles, and get still. And then put pen to paper. And I said, okay, but how do I know when I'm done? And she says, when the pen stops writing. And so that was my introduction to writing inventory from the very beginning. And that's where my belief in God started to morph into faith in God, because when I put pen to paper, what was coming down on the paper was not coming from my conscious mind. The first time I did inventory, kindergarten came up. Now I'm 45 years old. What is kindergarten doing on there? And I knew enough about my first step experience not to trust my thinking. Don't bring my thinking into this. Because if I say the third step prayer, God, I'm transferring my thinking and my actions over to you. And I go to do my fourth step, and then I start thinking about my life, 10-year increments, then I've just set God aside. I want my thinking to be set aside. And I trust you enough, God, because you have watched me through this entire journey of my life. The obsession to drink and drugs has been lifted. The obsession of all these things has been lifted. So I trust you to let me see what I can't see with my own thinking. So for me, a fourth step is not a threesome. It's not me, my thinking, and God. And if I can bring an open heart and an open mind to inventory, I will see what I need to see. And then I can I can be aware of my thinking wanting me not to write it. I can be aware of my thinking telling me I don't have time to write. I can hear. And so when I did the inventory on kindergarten, it was very telling because from a very early age, oh my God, I was mortified if people knew things about me that I didn't want them to know. See, I had wet my pants in kindergarten and the nun put a diaper on me. I was mortified. I was embarrassed. And I was so angry at her. How dare you do that to me? And as I started to do inventory, I realized that that was a common thing. So it was really cool that I did not take it off the list. And then in the fourth column, I got to see, listen, she had 40 other students in the class. She had to do what she needed to do to keep me, dry. So yeah, so that's how it works for me, Justin. I've just been willing to believe that when I ask God, He's going to show me.
Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform. Yeah, and I really appreciate that, and I want to follow up on that just a little bit. Do you, as you went through those different fourths and fifth steps, did the same? Well, let's just take this instance you talked about in kindergarten. Did that come up over and over and over again, or was that basically the first one, and then other things came up as you went through other fourths and fifths?
Yes. Okay. So to tell you, in the codependency, when I looked at my life in this relationship that I was real sick in, I assigned myself the role of a victim. And so I remember I'm sitting next to my partner, and I wanted him to notice how much pain I was in. And so I was slowly eating and putting food into my mouth and slowly chewing. And I felt like I had put my entire existence into the small ball of real nothingness so that he can see me. I was able to see that I had been doing that since I was a kid. I remember sitting at the table with my family, and I wanted them to see how hurt I was. And that rocked me. I was like, oh my God, this is a behavior that I have been. So I know, or maybe I don't know. When I have these kinds of experiences in this work, it's like I feel like I'm seeing things from God's perspective. When I wrote inventory on my mom, oh my God, I hated my mom. My dad gambled. My dad drank. She was a very angry mother, and I always felt unsafe around her because I didn't know when she was going to yell at me and when she was going to criticize me. So I always was on guard with her. And as I was writing inventory, I was able to see her from a different perspective. I was able to see as I was writing inventory about how much I hated my mom. I had a vision of her renting a typewriter back in the day, teaching herself how to type so she can go get a job as I was writing the inventory. So all of it, the pain, the visions, the fifth step, and then to me, like in step 6, oh my God, it's like, okay, God, here, please take it because these behaviors are weighing me down. And I believe God gladly says, yes, let me take them and give you what I need for you to have so you can be of purpose. I can't be of purpose to God if I'm still unaccountable and manipulative and lying and cheating. God, please take that. And He gives us the principles so that we can do our jobs, be on the firing line of life, and be used. Third step, who should bear witness? Not to my power, not to my love, God. So he and even if you don't want to say the word God, whatever it is that's giving you breath, connect to that. Okay, I got off track.
No, this
On
is
the
good.
question.
No, this is great. Great. I love it. I love where you're going with it. Um, you've referenced a few times during your talk being willing to do whatever it takes, go to any lengths to make this happen. Let's go back previous to August 5th, 2000. What are some of the things that you have done in recovery that you previous to that would have said, no way, that is insane. I would never go to those lengths, that have worked out for you?
What wouldn't I talk to people that I didn't know, take time to talk on the phone with people, um, speak in a meeting because I would be too concerned about what you were going to think about me. And it's interesting when we share in meetings, have you ever noticed like when we share, whether it's 5, 10, 15, whatever amount of time, the principles that we're practicing being helpful, we're practicing humility, we're practicing being of service, we're practicing openness, and all of these spiritual principles in a short amount of time. And then when we're done, it's like the thinking wants to come back and run the show again. And for me, it always shows up as if, well, why didn't you say this? And how come you didn't say that? And there wasn't a lot of likes, and maybe they didn't like what you said. And I caught on. And I realized, you know what? That's the imposter. That's because I don't think ego likes to be set aside, and we set it aside when we're sharing. It's all spiritual principles. Even though we don't realize it, we're practicing a way of existence that is totally different from gimme, 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 need, 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 need. I think that's why we have to be reminded of be of service, call somebody when times get rough, call somebody, because that's not our default. That's what I wouldn't have done, Justin. If I had been going through something when I was out there, trust me, I'm calling on you to help me and bail me out. But today, we call people to see if we can help them. And we have to be reminded time and time again, oh, yeah, right. That's right. I'm supposed to call somebody. So we have to practice this new life because it's in direct conflict with our old way.
Yeah, amen. That's one of the biggest obstacles that I ran into also as I was going through this is I don't want to talk to anybody. What if they reject me? What if they laugh at me? Whatever. And that kind of goes to this next thought that I have. You mentioned that you talked about owning your behavior rather than saying, "Hey, I was just joking. It was only a joke." I'm kind of a sarcastic person especially with those people that I should love most, that I do love most, but that I should, speak most kindly to, my wife, my kids, and sometimes my sarcasm hurts and it bites. How do you step back from that and own it? And when really it was just a joke. Here I am justifying it also. Teach me, help me overcome this weakness of mine.
Well, that sounds like the prayer you should say, Justin. I mean, I think you just answered your own question because that's the areas that I need help in. I have to have experience. I had an experience with anger, whereas I would have just been angry, right? Justify being angry. But I was able to experience how hurtful it was. I was able to see not only was it hurtful for that person, but it was also hurtful for me because I put myself in a position that I could have destroyed a relationship with someone who was kind to me. And I truly believe that in that moment, I experienced anger and the awareness of it in such a profound way that maybe I wasn't supposed to pause and not get angry. Maybe that was one of those moments that I had to experience not appreciating another human being or appreciating myself. And I had an opportunity to thank the person. And I have not recently been angry like that ever since. So perhaps that's where you're needing to go to God steps. So for me, my 10 steps have to include 6 and 7 because I can't just see it. If I see it, that's not changing anything. My ego doesn't care if I see it. But can I say, okay, God, please remove this behavior and show me how to be kinder and more loving to the people around me? We got to ask for what we need.
Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead. Oh, that's powerful. Now, Donna, I got a question that came in, and I haven't read through the whole thing yet, so it is in the chat if you want to look at it also while I read this, but it's an anonymous question. This person says, the other day, Donna said in a meeting, the road of desperation leads to the city of surrender. Is the surrender the main requirement? When we surrender, is it then that we can begin to show through our actions and works how anyone can get to the city or kingdom? Is it the surrendered relationship to higher power that we carry? Is it the message? Some people get that relationship before they do the steps, but we have faith that the steps can bring everyone into that relationship with God. So the message we carry is that this program, that taking the steps with the sponsor in desperation and with honesty can lead you out of addiction or self and also closer to God. So there's a lot there, but walk through that with me.
So, and it's interesting. I love this because I don't remember saying the city of desperation, but see, that's the thing. Like we're all on this path and we hear in the way we hear it. And so this person heard this city of surrender. And in that city, in any city, a city encompasses everything in that city. So the despair, I had to get to a place that there was nothing left to try. You know, Bill Wilson says the quicksand is all around us. And for me, I was watching myself sink. And it wasn't until the quicksand got underneath my nose that I was like, okay, that's it. So that's how I can describe this journey that I'm on. I think it's in that surrendered state there's space for grace. I think it's in the surrendered space that spirit blossoms. I think it's in that surrendered state that we're willing to go to any length. We don't question. I think in that surrendered state we begin to hear, we begin to see. I think in that surrendered state we start attracting the fellowship that we crave. I think it's when in that surrendered state that we're willing to do the work. In that surrendered state, we're willing to help others. I think in that surrendered state, everything happens. When did the surrender happen? I believe for me, August 5th, 2000, when I was too exhausted to continue to try and admit defeat. So the person who put that in the chat, my phone number is on my Zoom. Feel free to call me. Yeah. But I like how you refer to it as the city of surrender. We're in a new place, right? It says in the big book that they were brought into a manner of living. And to be brought, brought means that something or somebody has to take me there. So maybe spirit is bringing you into the city of surrender, sis. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, and thank you for walking through that. I love that. And that brings me, I've got one final question for you before we wrap up here, Donna. You referenced the fourth column in step 4, and you've said several things about putting yourself in the shoes of those people that were on that and how that shifted everything. Talk to me a little bit more about the power of doing that exercise.
So for me, it happens, and there's a number of us that have looked at when it says that we have to realize that the people who harmed us are perhaps spiritually sick like us. I needed to see that I am no more or no less than another human being, that many of us are victims of generational dysfunction from generation to generation. I get to see that we live in a life that is so selfish and self-centered that mankind does not care what they do to one another. They just don't want nobody to know. How sick are we to one another? And I get to see that I wanted people to treat me in a way that they couldn't because, like me, they needed to have power and control. So I was able to see that I was a bully. And I, too, took advantage of people who couldn't fight back. When I was in high school, I used to look for the weakest person. And I didn't care if I embarrassed them. I didn't care if I made them uncomfortable. I was going to go in their wallet, in their pocket, and pull out their wallet and take their money and their bus pass, and knew that they didn't have the courage or the power to fight back. And when I saw that about me, I was able to see, well, wait a minute, I am not in any position to judge anyone who takes advantage of another human being. And so the forgiveness, oh my God, it's like I just felt like I just was being shrunk in my judgment. I was being right-sized of, you're not this big Willie Bobo who is so much better than anybody. I started to see, because it's really fear. I'm so afraid, and I'm afraid because I'm not tapped into the power that gives me courage, that gives me comfort. What did Bill Wilson call it? That icy intellectual mountain in whose shadow we shivered. No wonder I never felt at peace and calm and loved and all this stuff. And I'm living life outside and looking for you. And it's interesting what I also saw, and I feel like I'm going around, but I realized I didn't know how to love me, but I wanted you to love me. But how am I asking you to do something for me that I can't do for me? And how do I think that you have the bandwidth to not only live your life, but live mine? And so all of a sudden, this willingness to be small started to happen. I'm like, I'm not this great big such and much. I'm another failed, flawed human being who's thinking that they're living. So my fourth steps are usually very humbling for me. I get to see I'm no different than you, and you're no different from me. And I can have compassion for people who still think they need to have power to be okay. We're like the prodigal son. We know what it's like. I know what it's like to need power to be okay. Because inside you feel like you're on page 52.
This is beautiful. Donna, this has been such an amazing speaker meeting. Thank you so much for your willingness to share. And yeah, page 52. Feel like I'm there. Yep, I've been there. Everybody, if we've missed your question or if you'd like to continue this conversation, join our WhatsApp community. Email me at rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll have these conversations and discussions there. If you'd like to, so let me confirm this with Donna. Donna, if somebody out here in the listening audience in the podcast world wants to get in contact with you, can they send me an email and I get them connected with you through that?
They can just call me. My phone number's there.
Okay. In the podcast world, they won't see your number. So
yes, please do, sweetie. Yes, Justin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So just send me an email at Rico12pod, RECO12POD @gmail.com, and I'll get you connected with Donna if you'd like to speak with her. Next Friday, we'll be hearing from Marla B., who will be another first-time Rico 12 speaker, and I'm super excited to hear from her. Her topic will be "The Liar is Trying to Kill Me," and I'm still looking for speakers to fill out some of the meetings for the rest of 2025. I've got several filled, but I've got several open still. So if your higher power is putting a topic on your heart, please reach out to me and we'll schedule that. And we're just excited to continue this process here. So today, Donna, you're going to take us out here with the third step prayers, what you mentioned earlier today. So if you wouldn't mind saying that for us.
I just want to make sure that, because I have my own that I've been saying, God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help, of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will.
Thank you so much, Donna. All right, everybody, remember, there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back, and when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. I'm looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you free, so we can be. I saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low. But now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.